here today.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, thanks to everybody for being here today. We're excited to open up the season against William & Mary on Wednesday, and then we play at home on Friday against Western Carolina. So it should be a fun week, exciting week around here. Obviously, we got a big football game on Saturday against NC State at home, so there should be a lot of passion in the community. After watching the tape against Winston-Salem State, I thought there were some good things, and there were some things that we need to definitely work on. I thought we played a little too casual. I thought that we played our man before the catch, or we played our man after the catch, not before the catch early on in the scrimmage. We weren't putting any defensive pressure on them. We didn't play off the post enough. We didn't throw it in there. We were in a very good stance defensively a lot. We were too low on the floor. I wanted my team up the floor, stripping and ripping. I thought we were too hugged up on the help side. And I thought the bigs got the ball stripped out of their hands a lot. That'll cause the hugging of our man will be a problem on Wednesday. William & Mary is a very good ball screen team. They set very high volume amount of ball screens in a game, maybe 100 plus. They got 7 of their top 8 guys back. They're a good team, and we don't have any film on them because they haven't played in the exhibition games. So it'll be an interesting challenge for us preparing for them this week. But I know we'll be up for it, and I think our guys are excited. I know our guys and our staff are excited to play. You may have any questions.
As far as maybe this process of reaffirming some of those things that you hit on that were like maybe the takeaways you want to see improve, when it's this close to the season, what's that like when you're trying to kind of nail down those last few things with the guys?
Well, we addressed it yesterday. We had practice for about 2.5 hours. That's counting film, so film takes a little time, some stretching. But, that's how you kind of build your practice plan, at least in my opinion, is the things that you look at on film that you need to work on, you go out and try to correct them. Now, it's not something we haven't been working on, but until you can lay it down on tape and not be practiced sometimes, but in a game, you hope it maybe takes them some time to figure it out. It's not the whole team, it's certain people, and they know what they have to do. And so that's how I use film, is to teach that way, and they're pretty simple corrections. And I think it's something that we definitely have to correct, and we will.
As far as just kind of evaluating a team where you don't have the exhibition film, I assume you're looking back at some stuff last season, but pieces change. Right. What's kind of the breakdown of that for you?
Well, I'll break it down like this. Now, we have you have a new staff member this year, Jason Shea, somebody that I completely and totally trust. So we're doing scouting a little bit different than we did last year. Jason handles the defensive part of the scout. It's for every scout now, him and BJ. And so it's kind of like, I don't want to use football as an example, but it's kind of like that, having an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. And then Coach Savage handles the offense, and Coach Woodley assists him in the areas that he can assist him about rules. And so it's basically broke down that way. Then they meet with me, tell me how we're going to go about it. I watch film, and then that's how we formulate the plan. Honestly, I haven't watched William & Mary from last year yet. I will tonight, tomorrow, but I know my staff has a lot. And that's basically what you have to go by. And then you hope that they don't put the wishbone in, right? Or the triple option or the spread. You just don't know, right? And then players get better. But the other side of it too is they don't know us that well either. We have 9 new players, or 8 tomorrow being out. So, it's always kind of like that, as you guys know this time of year. Now sometimes a little bit more about teams than some others, and this is going to be one we probably don't know a whole lot about. Just I know they're well coached. They won 20 games the year before COVID. I think the only people that are happy about COVID last year was Gonzaga, Baylor, Houston. I remember that was the 14th made the Final Four. Remember?
UCLA.
What? Counting on him.
Yeah.
And Mick Cronin would be really mad at me today if I didn't know that. Those four teams are happy about last year. Everybody else is probably like me, just glad to move on. So I look at it like they won 20 games, coming in the year.
Was there a player to, after looking at that exhibition again, that maybe you didn't see in the moment that stood out as a little more positive later on?
Not really. I watched it. I went recruiting early on. I went out of state Saturday and then get back till Sunday afternoon. I had a chance to watch it on the plane. I did get mad a couple times. I think the people sitting next to me probably was wondering what the heck my outburst was about. I don't know. Not really. I mean, I thought we shared the ball, 18 assists on 30 baskets. Offensively, we pretty much, for the most part, we played like we practiced, pretty much. Took maybe 2 bad shots. Now, you got to understand, a lot of times, too, they were just wide open shots. They got to take them, and I respect that. And, if we advance pass in transition and we're open to shoot the 3, that's the way we play. We're going to shoot. Against pressure, they were in a 2-2-1. And last year I wasn't able to do this, but I like to put the shooters deep in the corners, all the way down the floor. So we break with 3 people, throw over the top and shoot the 3. And, Jay got a couple of those early. And I wanted to shoot those every time. They just didn't, wait. So I thought offensively, except for maybe 2 shots, we played the right way. Defensively, I was just disappointed that we were kind of, I don't know, we didn't come out with the aggression that we had against South Carolina. I thought we just kind of were there. We weren't making them miss. I think they were just missing. Now we had some possessions where we did, but we need more consistency, in that area, in my opinion. But I don't think there was any plays other than man would have had 20 if he missed 2 dunks. Other than that, and that didn't really upset me that bad. I like aggression. I like guys that play hard.
All right, we'll go to Zoom. Anyone have any questions on Zoom?
Steve, when you got a team full of newcomers and guys that have just gelled together, I'm sure you saw them play together in the summer, but your impressions of them playing together and their cohesiveness when the lights are on and in front of a opponent that isn't also sharing their uniform?
I've been very impressed with that, Connor. It starts at the top. I think with the guys that are older, and I've talked about this before with Davian and Isaiah Vicious and Dallas Walton and Londas Williams and Adim C. Those guys, Jake Laravia, the older guys have done a really good job of leading and then taking the younger guys under their wing and talking to them, and coaching them. And I'm a big believer in that the older guys got to help the younger guys and not be blaming them. We're all on the same team. And the best teams I've ever been around, they coach themselves, and I think I can see that with our guys. And then the younger guys got to be accepting of the coaching too, right? We've had some issues with that early on. I had some issues with the older guys not coaching correctly, their tone. We've worked through all these things. This is what was the great thing about the summer, right? And then the fall. 8 weeks in the summer. There's basically 5 weeks in the fall before you even start quote-unquote official practice. And then we get 30 practices, and today's is 28 or 29, I guess, because 30's tomorrow. So, I'm impressed, but it's something that we expect. I think it's something that, myself and our staff have always excelled at, is having good chemistry and guys that play together and share the basketball. And that's why I like that about this team.
When they were struggling to kind of pick up on that, was it just a matter of telling the older guys, hey, you guys have to get louder, you have to get in these guys' face sometimes?
No, it's the opposite. It was actually you need to watch your tone on how you talk to somebody when you're trying to coach. Like, for instance, I guess you don't really like it when I get on you, the way I get on you. Some guys like it more than others. It's how you deliver the message. and not talking down to somebody, but explaining to them, hey, this is how it works. And hey, listen, it's hard for young people to do that. I had a meeting with the seniors in my office. I don't remember when. It was right when school started before. And I had that conversation with them, and they've done an unbelievable job since then. That's just part of something that I, being accountable is, not playing the blame game, and don't be a blamer, but be somebody that can instruct and help them get better. And that's what I talked about today. You got to help each other. And that's what I mean by that. Help each other. And they're doing a much better job of that. And I've been proud of them for that.
Hey, Steve, with just under 100 practices now with your team since the summer, what is it you're most proud of that they've accomplished to this point? What do they have down? And then conversely, what has you the most worried?
Well, I think offensively we're pretty good. That doesn't mean that we're going to shoot the ball great every time out. In fact, last week I asked the team, my biggest concern will be how are we going to play when we don't shoot the ball well, when the ball doesn't go in the basket, because defense and rebounding travel, they're consistent. And so that would be my worry less, every year, except maybe for one. I think my third year at East Tennessee State, that team could really defend, but I wasn't sure they could score 2 points. And you can't. Well, I guess you could win 2-0. Maybe if you shut somebody out, but that's pretty tough. I think that offensively we have shown, and you've seen it in practice, and you've now seen it in one exhibition game, that we have multiple ways to score the ball, and they're not a selfish team, and we're not reliant on one guy to have a great game, have to play great every game for us to win. I don't believe that's the case. Do we have to fine tune some things? Yeah, I think that we can score in the post. And one of the great things about Dallas, and he didn't play a lot Friday nights because he didn't really need to. And Hadim and Tariq and Jake, and then when Matthew comes back, we have guys that can score with their back to the basket, and we have to take advantage of that. Can't fall in love with shooting threes. And that's the emphasis. So I think that those things we've done well. Rebounding. We have a big team, but do we have guys that have a nose for the ball that want to just go get it? It's one thing to be big, but if you don't go get the ball, it don't really matter. Size sometimes, and I recruited Paul Millsap, and I've been around some guys that Jerome Rodriguez, who played for me at Northwest or at East Tennessee State, was I think second rebounding maybe junior in the country. Is 6'7". Do we have those guys that want to go fetch it? I see glimpses of it, but then I don't. Defensively, we'll get better as we go, but I do believe that we need to. I don't think we're where we need to be yet defensively. So that's kind of what I see. And I think it's kind of been the common theme of what I said, so far. But I do think it's a good thing that we can put the ball in the basket. It makes life a little bit easier. Listen, we played Winston-Salem State on Friday night. I don't remember what we scored, 80-some. We only ran 2 plays the whole game, and we scored both of them. We just ran motion and shared the ball. Now, we won't be able to do that moving forward. But I think that goes to show you offensively, what kind of team we have, that we don't have to joystick them or, play a video game and run plays. They can make plays.
Steve, one thing I've been meaning to ask, but just kind of slipped my mind, is you've added 3 walk-ons during the offseason. Was that intentional? Did it just happen? And what are you getting from those guys?
Pretty much everything I do is intentional. They are very, very valuable. I really believe that it's kind of, I love football. Kind of like having a scout team. I think it's really important. They're important the whole year. the entire season, but their value really goes through the roof right now because they have to run the other team's offense, and they have to learn it like that. And some of these offenses are not easy to learn, and they have to learn it on the fly. And then they're going to get guarded by, 6'9", 6'8", 7 foot. It can be difficult. So those guys, the returners, JR, Mathis, and Brandon Bever, and Miles Lester, those guys have got a lot of experience. And then we picked up Kevin and Dunn and Robinson, and those guys have been really good. But I like having 5 guys. 6 is more than I typically have. And we're not playing 6-on-6 girls basketball like I grew up on in Iowa. I think that their value, and the players know it. And you can see their reaction when those guys go in the game, when they get their chance. They're excited, and that's genuine. That's not some phony stuff. Those guys are great teammates. Those are the guys I probably have the most respect for because they got to practice every day. They got to just as hard or harder than anybody else, and they a lot of times don't get the playing time. They're not getting any playing time. So you got to love the game, man, to be in their position. And it's and it's funny how that carries over to the guys who graduate. I tell those guys that graduate, they're now going to go play overseas. You better love to play, because if you don't, you're not going to make it. You're not going to make it. And this is the greatest time of their life right now because the fans at Wake Forest love them. Love them. But the moment they become professionals, those fans don't care anymore now. They care about winning, and them coaches too. And so it's a different bond between players and community, and players and community when they're in college and when they're professional. And so and it's the same thing with those walk-ons. They love to play. They love to be a part of the team. I respect that.
Anything else for Coach?
I got one more. Steve, you mentioned Jason, and I'm just curious, like in your time in the past with him, his traits as a coach, how does he benefit you the most in game?
He's really good at adjustments, and he sees the game slow. I think the great ones, the game's not fast. They see it in a different pace than most, and they don't watch the ball. Like I really try hard during the game not to watch the ball. In fact, there's a lot of times I ask, "Did we score? What happened?" Because I'm watching something else during the game. But it's changed. The rules have changed. Jason was called the plays when I was at East Tennessee State, Northwest Florida. Now Brooks does. And see, I think Brooks sees it just like he does. They're both extremely talented basketball minds. BJ, same way. It's just trust. But Jason just brings more years of experience, and we've been in together. We've been in some really, really big games, and not just at East Tennessee State, but at Tennessee. I think we beat 29 nationally ranked teams when we were together there, something like that. We're number 1 in the country. So just I think he sees it differently, than probably the average guy on the bench.
What kind of effect do you see that have on players? They get to interact with like the vision and the experience of that.
I think this they see it, and they respect it, and they know they're getting better. You guys have seen practice. We take a lot of time before practice every day to teach. I'm not even out there. I'm out. Maybe the first 30 minutes. It's individual instruction with the perimeters and the posts. Then we go 10 minutes of what I would call team instruction or team fundamentals on offense and defense. So down there on offense is Coach Savage, and sometimes Coach Willie, depending on if one of the coaches is gone in practice because of recruiting. We got that rule we can replace them. On the other end is with the bigs is on defense is Jason and Coach Mackey, and Coach Mackey's gone and AK's and then they flip. And so we get 30 minutes of fundamentals every day with those guys. Not me. I'm out there. I'm not, but I let that be their time. That's where you gain rapport and respect with the players, everybody. And then we do, what I call dummy O or 5-on-0. So we got 40 minutes in before we even popped that whistle. Now, when I pop the whistle, we start going, then you've seen, I take charge. But that doesn't mean they don't coach. I've always wanted people on my staff that can coach and not be one-dimensional. I think that's where a lot of people make mistakes in hiring people, is they hire them to do one thing. A lot of times that's just recruiting. And I think that's a major mistake because I think the players suffer for that. The grass isn't always greener. You got to make the players that you have better. And we've prided ourselves on that. And I think you probably see that. Right out there in that green grass I'm looking at down there. I think those players get better. And so Jason he adds to that with the guys that I already have. And I think that it's a whole thing, man. It's Joe Hughley does an unbelievable job with those players. And Isaiah Tisdale and my son, Christopher, they all, Mike Starkey, Mark Armour. It's a whole bunch of guys helping those guys pull in the right direction. And we got good chemistry, not just on the court, but we do off the court. And that carries over to the court. If you don't have that, it's hard. And not everybody has it. Not everybody has it. There's no me in this thing as we. And so I'm happy, where we're at with our staff and how they're coaching our players.
Anything else? All right. Thanks, everybody.